Greg and everyone here, Huey, George, what is your position on Web3 projects and teams, platforms, validators, preaching Web3 while running on Web2 infrastructure? What's the importance of leading by example here?
Well, at the moment, um, we can't do everything in the Web3 world, even if we wanted to. It's just a matter of the tech stack hasn't caught up to what our ambitions are, right? So Web 2 is sort of a stepping stone. We are actively researching and working on how to move everything that we do on chain, most likely as our own layer one network. That being said, being able to use both Web 3 and Web 2 gives you a ton of flexibility and allows you to have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand the capabilities issue, right? I mean, we can get into details as to how, but I think where my concern is not using Web2 classic infrastructure. I think over reliance on a single host, right? I mean, if you were to use cloud infrastructure, I'd rather prefer putting your infrastructure in a bare metal server, sitting in a secure data center that you have complete control over, and not Amazon. I mean, I just think, using Amazon is for a Web3 project is just fundamentally wrong. It's over concentration of power.
Sure.
You can do pretty much anything you want to do on an Amazon, right? And that's where Akash comes into play, because Akash is not really a cloud, it's a market, right? If you're using Akash, you're actually deploying on a Equinix or a OVH or someone's home server if you choose to. But the point is, it's not really a single provider, but rather you're going to a bunch of bare metal providers, right? Granted, Akash is hard to use. There may be concerns about security, which can be addressed with a conversation really with me or with people, so I can show you under the hood what's happening. I think but again, I understand infrastructure usage is climbing the credibility ladder. So more people use Akash and more people get comfortable using Akash. I think it's going to reveal itself. Fortunately, we don't have any security events so far, and I want to keep it that way. I think Akash in itself has a much more secure design than Amazon's, being open, being hyper sort of like focused on selecting the best infrastructures, and also like not automating a lot of things that people expect, but rather giving the flexibility to the developer to choose a security architecture that please. So like with remote signers we have for validators, right? When I ask you to run validators on Akash, I'm expecting you to have remote signers somewhere else. So your security footprint is significantly lower, where you can run the validators in a zero trust environment, right? So by choosing Akash, you're forced to make these trade-offs to be more secure. And that inherently makes the application more secure, right? So we're not promising all these bells and whistles. People promise the more things protocols provide, the more attack vectors there is, generally speaking. I think Web3 projects should not use Amazon. I'm not saying use Akash per se, but they should not use Amazon. You can use anything else.
US, and it's like, well, cool, but like at the same time you have I'm sure you know this, there's a million things to be done. There's a million people to talk to. There's a million stacks to figure out, and AWS is just easy. I've worked with AWS probably for 15 years, and it's easy to prototype something on AWS and then figure out how to decentralize it and move it into the Web3 world.
Yeah, I understand. So the value of choosing iteration speed over principles, I totally understand. As a startup, you got to focus on iteration. You got to focus on increasing productivity, and Amazon is a great way to start off, right? Like, I totally know you, especially if your team and people that usually come into infrastructure have some experience with Amazon, right? Yeah, so yeah, and that also puts the onus on teams like Akash to make it much better. But what I can tell you is, I think we're building things that we're building right now. Our heavy emphasis is on user focus, on user experience in general. The thing we're building, a lot of my code is open source. I code a lot, but if you look at some of the repos we have, single command deploys, right? From your vanilla repos to getting highly productive and into production within a single command on Akash, which is significantly better than Amazon. In fact, even better than like Vercels or the Netlify. So it's a lot of work that's happening on Akash that improves your user experience and takes it to the next level. I think. And really shows you the power of non-custodial systems, how beautiful they can be.